So I woke up this morning and had this, you ever have like these dreams, like in between wake and asleep, and you're not quite awake, but you're not asleep, and you have these thoughts or dreams that come to you? And I was sitting there thinking, half awake, am I gonna know how to do this? It's been like weeks, I feel like. So I had this weird fear thought, like, do I know what I'm gonna be doing today? And so that was just a dream, obviously. I can speak, I can do all these things. But I don't know why I had this nervous energy this morning, and I have had it for a couple days, but it's, we'll see where we're gonna go with this. I know that last week you talked about Genesis 16, talked about Sarai and Hagar, and had some great questions. Did you ask anybody to respond to your questions? We probably should have done that. We probably should have sent out a text message or an email saying, hey, let's respond to these. That would have been great to see. But as I got up here, I thought, we started Genesis October? When did we start Genesis? January? It was in the beginning is when we started. You're right. So, yeah, that was great. Clever. So Genesis was started a while ago, and I thought, here we're gonna jump into chapter 17, but I thought, like, maybe I should just do like a really brief 30-second overview. We started the first 11 chapters, 1 through 11. We talked about creation and the myths of creation and how God was telling a community, a group of people, a new story about creation, one that was so different from where they came from. Well, first of all, who's the audience?
Israelites.
The Israelites, right? And where are the Israelites just coming from? Gosh, see, we need to have this, right? What? Egypt, right? Excellent, well done. They came from Egypt, right? So the audience, the people who are first hearing this story, God is giving this, he's authoring this to Moses, and Moses is now telling the people of Israel who have just come out of slavery. And so he's giving them all of these things that they grew up for 400 years learning about their creation, about their stories, where they came from. God is giving them a new story. God isn't who you think he is, in other words. Creation isn't just what you thought or what you learned from Ra and all the Egyptian gods. God is a God of restoration. We were made in his image, and that image is to restore the creation that he created. The God who knows when to stop, who knows when to take a break, who knows when to stop working, who knows when to stop talking, who knows when to just listen. The God who can say enough. We learned, these people are learning for the first time, trust is necessary in the creative process. Then we moved on to Adam and Eve and the idea of personal responsibility. We talked about Cain and Abel. We talked about Noah. And finally, we get to Abraham. And we start hearing these stories of how he was called by God to leave everything, his family, his house, his land, to leave everything and go on this journey in just absolute faith and trust. And along the way, he makes some mistakes in Egypt with a famine and his wife, and then his wife again with Hagar. And, we are learning that God doesn't call perfect people. The people that God uses are also broken people. And so here we are, Genesis 17. And so Genesis 17 is really kind of a short chapter. So I want to read Genesis 17. So I want you to, if you have a Bible or you have your phone, I want everybody to follow along with me on this, because I want you to see the translation differences. So BibleGateway.com, if you have your phones, everybody should be on them. BibleGateway.com. It's not the same as social or as Instagram. There's no Instagram Bible. You got to go right to like the website. Just in case you got like think that you're gonna like watch a reel while we're reading through this, I'm like, you just got to know with you. All right, 17. Is everybody there? I don't care what translation you might have. King James, you might have ESV, NASB. It doesn't matter. I want you to, as I'm reading through this, I want you to kind of note the different words that you might see that are different from my translation. We're going to go through this, and I'm a fast reader, so scroll. I don't want to take a whole lot of time on this, but I do want to read the whole thing. You ready? Chapter 17. And it came to be when Abram was 99 years old that Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh appeared to Abram and said to him, I am El Shaddai. Walk before me and be perfect. And I give my commandment between me and you and shall greatly increase you. And Abraham fell on his face, and Elohim spoke with him, saying, as for me, look, my covenant is with you, and you shall become a father of many nations. And no longer is your name to be called Abram, but your name shall be called Abraham, because I shall make you a father of many nations. And I shall make you exceedingly fruitful and make nations of you, and sovereigns shall come from you. And I shall establish my covenant between me and you and your seed after you and their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be Elohim to you and your seed after you. And I shall give you and your seed and after you the land of the sojournings and the land of the Canaan and an everlasting possession, and I shall be their Elohim. And Elohim said to Abraham, as for you, guard my covenant, you and your seed after you, throughout their generations. This is my covenant, which you guard between me and you and your seed after you. Every male child among you is to be circumcised. And you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall become a sign of the covenant between me and you. And a son of 8 days is circumcised by you. Every male child in the generation he is born in your house or bought with silver and from any foreigner who is not of your seed. He who is born in your house and he who is bought with your silver has to be circumcised. So shall my covenant be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant, and an uncircumcised male child who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, his life shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. I want you to scroll down now to 21. I'm going to skip a few passages here. Verse 21. But my covenant I will establish with Yitzchak, whom Sarah is to bear to you at this appointed time next year. And when he had ended speaking with him, Elohim went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael, his son, and all those born in the house, and all those that were bought with the silver, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin that same day, as Elohim told him. And Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised that day. And all the men of the house, born in the house and bought with silver from the foreigner, were circumcised with him. As I read through this on Monday, I was like, oh my gosh, there is so much to talk about here. We could talk about blood all morning and pain and all kinds of stuff. You're like, do we really need to talk about this? And I read through this, and there was so much, and I wrote down all these notes. And then as I got towards the end of the week, I was sitting there Thursday, and I was rereading again. I'm like, wrote down some more notes. And Thursday, I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. I'm looking at this. There's so much. I can't talk about all of it. And I don't really feel like I'm supposed to talk about any of it. And so Friday morning, I rolled in, and I couldn't move past one verse. I couldn't read anymore. All I could read was verse 1. And I read it again, and I read it again, and I read it again, and then I wrote the verse out, and then I wrote each word out, and I couldn't move past it. And it came to be when Abram was 99 years old that Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh appeared to Abraham and said to him, I am El Shaddai. Walk before me and be perfect. First of all, I thought 99. That's kind of old, isn't it? I mean, when you think of 99, like in our culture, most people don't live. I watched an interview of a guy that was 98. He was one of the last few living people who served in World War II, right? World War II, that was like forever ago. 99. Here's this guy, Abram. He's still working, full of vigor, right? He's going to have a kid. You know, I mean, to think about that. At 99, right? You got to have a little bit of vigor still in you, right? A few chapters ago, we saw that he slaughtered a bull, right? This guy, 80s, 90s, he's still active. He's in our culture, like I've been learning, on one of my side hobbies, I love to learn about fitness, right? And strength training and all these things. And I've learned through science, it shows like the more that you do physical training, exercising, like weightlifting and stuff that's going to build muscle, the longer you will actually live. It's better for your bones. It's better for your heart. It's better for, so many different things. It keeps you young. It keeps you from falling and breaking a hip. All of these things that you need to do strength training as you get older, not stop strength training. So here's this guy that's 99 years old. I thought about, as we were sitting here, I should have put one of these old men with these six packs. These guys would have been like, yeah, But this is my idea of Abraham. Here's this guy that's 99 years old. In today's world, he'd kind of be a stud, I think. But why is this here? Is this in this passage right here so that we can think, oh, he's built? Or is it here for a different reason? And as I looked at this and I studied this, I was like, 99, why is this here? And it says it twice. He was 99 years old. It's a marker. It's a marker that God is telling his people. Pesticides? He was organic. You're right. Yeah. Yeah. He lived for a long time. Maybe. He's middle-aged at 99, yeah. Here's what I found. The reason that this number is in here, because remember, these aren't just arbitrary. They don't just throw numbers out, right? It's always got a purpose. But the reason that this is in here is because it's a marker that it's been 13 years since Abraham has heard anything from God. Think about that. 13 years since God has heard anything. Do you know how many conversations I have with people who are like, I just don't hear from God anymore. I just don't feel God. I don't have this closeness with God. I mean, I read my Bible, I pray, I don't feel anything, I don't hear anything, nothing's telling me, nothing's guiding me. I don't have this, I don't. Something must be wrong with me. What happens when people don't hear from God? Do you quit? Do you slide backwards into that old life where you used to live because you don't hear anything anymore? Do you lose faith because you don't hear? Do you start asking questions like, did I really hear God? Did he really tell me to do this? Does he really want me to go in this direction? Is this the direction that I'm supposed to be heading? I haven't heard anything. He hasn't said anything. He hasn't moved me in any way. Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? Do I need to do these things that I keep doing over and over that I feel like were once told to me to do? Why? Why am I living this way? Did Abraham have these questions? What is it What is it that at that moment that you need to hear from God? What is it that when you're struggling with all of these questions and all of these doubts and all of these wonders, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? What is it that you need to hear in that moment? And that's what's so fascinating about this text. What does the very next thing say? And it came to be when Abram was 99 years old that Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh appeared to Abram and said, I am El Shaddai. It doesn't say Lord, whatever your translation, if it should say Lord in capital letters. Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh comes to Abraham. The God who created everything, the God who created existence, comes to Abraham again and says, I am El Shaddai. What does your translation say? God Almighty? What? Almighty God. Any other translations? What'd you see? Other than those. That's typically what's translated. But here's the fascinating thing about this word. El Shaddai. El is God. Shaddai. There is no word in any language for Shaddai. No ancient language. Not Hebrew, not Arabic, not anything that was in the Mesopotamian at that area. There is no word Shaddai. And so no translators know what this word actually means. There's lots of guesses. There's hundreds and hundreds of years of rabbis thinking, what is this? And as I looked through it, there was like a list. It could be this, it could be that, it could be all these things. And so here I'm staring at this passage Monday or Friday morning, and I'm looking at the context of all this, and I'm going over it and just staring at this one and writing it out. Nobody knows what this word means.
Is it used elsewhere?
El Shaddai, but that's it. But still, nobody knows what that word means. But there was one rabbi that as I looked at the context of this, that I agreed with. I think this is what I agree. I think this is what this word means. He says, Shaddai comes from two Hebrew words who God puts together. Kind of like Paul makes up words. It's like God makes up a word here. The two Hebrew words were Shah and Dai. Right? Which would like, oh, Shaddai. But they're not a word that you put together. And when you put these words together, the meaning actually means who is enough. Or not enough, it could be sufficient. Who is sufficient? In other words, the author is telling the people that God is sufficient to meet our needs. El Shaddai is the God who will carry us and sustain us. He is enough and can sustain us through the long, dry spells where we feel or hear nothing. He is enough. Even when we go through those hard times of pain and struggle and trauma and the things that we struggle with in our past, or the things that we're afraid of in our future, or the things that we are living in this world of anxiety or struggle or like frustration. The author says, I am El Shaddai. I'm enough. I can sustain you. But it doesn't stop there. He then goes on, I am El Shaddai. Walk before me and be perfect. The Hebrew word for before me is panem. So the Hebrew is actually halacha panem. Panem is actually translated face, which is an weird translation. What does that mean? Walk before me? Walk before my face? How do you do that? What does it mean to walk before my face? And as I looked at this over and over, it made me think of being a parent where as a child, we were watching over here, you had children, right? You sometimes have to pick them up and carry a child. And then as they grow older, they want to walk. And then sometimes you put them down and you stand side by side and you walk with them, you hold their hands. But then they get to that age where they want what? They want to be there on their own. And they want to run. And they're going to walk in front of you. And I think this is the idea of chalaha penem, that you, Abraham, just know you are walking in front of me. But the moment that you turn around, I'm going to be right there. No matter where you go, I am there behind you. No matter what direction, I am with you. No matter what's going on in your life, I am enough because I'm right here behind you. Because I am enough. And if you walk before my face, you might turn a path that isn't what the direction I want. But as long as you walk in my path, just know I am always right behind you. And then it says something that's not correct. It says, and you will be perfect. Why is that not correct? You've heard me say this before? Because there's no Hebrew word for perfect. There's no concept. Can you be perfect? Can you? Can anybody? You're pretty close. I'll give you that. Nobody can be perfect. So what does that even mean? Yeah, walk before me and you'll be perfect. But the word isn't perfect. The word is tamim, which doesn't mean perfect. What does it mean? It means whole. It means complete, sound, innocent, integrous. Walk before my face. Walk directly in front of me, and I will make you whole. When we blow it, when we make mistakes, when we screw things up in our lives, when we say things and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that, and I ruin a relationship, or I piss somebody off, or I fail somebody because I didn't do something that I was supposed to do. God says, I will make you whole. When we fail, when we feel guilt and shame and brokenness. There was something I read a few years ago, and I looked it up again this week, and it was fascinating. There's an ancient custom in Japan called kintsugi. Kintsugi. In the West, we have this thing when we have a piece of glass or a piece of pottery and it falls over and it breaks. What do we do with it? We throw it away, right? Why? Because it's broken. It's useless. But in the East, they have this thing called kintsugi, where they take the pieces of broken glass or broken pottery and they glue them back together, but they glue them back together with gold glue so that you will notice every single crack, every single brokenness, everything that shattered this at one time has now been put back together, and it looks absolutely beautiful. They highlight the brokenness in the shattered pieces. What was once broken is now made whole. And not just whole, but beautiful. No matter what you have done, no matter what you have said, no matter what you have experienced, no matter what trauma, brokenness that has happened in your life, maybe not even because of your fault, whatever you have gone through, it doesn't matter, Abraham. When you walk before my face, I will make you whole. I will make you beautiful. I will make you sound. How many of us need to hear that message today? That reminder that we serve a God, as long as we walk before His face, that He is El Shaddai, the God who is enough. The God who can make you whole again. No matter what you've done, no matter where you think you've failed, no matter where you think you have screwed things up so much in your life that you feel absolute shame and guilt and just want to, as Southwest says, get away, God is enough. He's the one that can make you whole. As I was trying to figure out if I should move on from this, I couldn't move past this because I thought this is just one thing that we need to hear today. And as we have some people that are leaving our community soon, all I could think of is I hope and I pray that you hear this message today. That as you leave a community of people, that you know that God is sufficient for you, that He is enough. And yes, I'm looking at you because you leave on Tuesday. And this will be the first time that you leave this long. And so, I just wanted to say this to you. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make His face shine upon you and show you favor. May the Lord lift His face upon you and give you peace. Thus you shall be my name on the children of Israel, and myself shall be a blessing to them. I know that he hates being put on the spot. That's the worst thing for him. But I just want you to know that you are enough and that God is sufficient for you. I'm going to ask you guys to come up and pray. Would you all just stand with me? I want to say one last prayer. Abba, we just thank you for this Sabbath. We thank you for the reminder that you give us through these words, this story that you shared thousands of years ago to a group of people who had come out of a dark place, who needed to be rescued, who needed redemption, who you saved. But you reminded them as they walked on this journey that no matter where they go, no matter what they go through, that you will always be enough for us. You will always be sufficient. Even if we don't hear from you, that we trust that as long as we walk in front of you, that you will make us whole and complete. You will fix the brokenness within us, and you will make us beautiful again. Thank you, Lord.